Hey, I don't say this in every one of my videos, but I want you to stick around on this one till the very end, because towards the end of this video, I'm gonna go over some things that you're gonna absolutely want to consider before you purchase any cold plunge. What's up guys, Dave Moss Jr. here, and in today's video, we're gonna do a full deep dive review of the Frozin 400. So many of you have asked me to review this product, and I gotta be completely honest with you, I was not looking forward to it. To me, first impressions online, it looked like a complete piece of garbage for $1,000. Just gotta be transparent with you. But I have it here in front of me. This is gonna be a full transparent review. Let's dive right into it. So the first thing I wanna talk about is the fact that Frozin actually sent me these, and it wasn't supposed to go that way. I actually went on Amazon, I purchased it for myself, and then I got a text message from the founder saying, hey, we're so honored that you want to talk about our product or get our product to review. Can we just send it to you? And I said, hey, that's totally fine, but I'm going to be completely transparent on my review. They said, we want some constructive criticism, so if there's anything we can do to make this product better, we're all ears. So I absolutely love that. They did end up sending this to me. I allowed them to send it to me, but everything you're going to see here is going to be my honest first impressions. And to be totally transparent, I did not think I was going to be at all impressed with this, and I thought it was just going to be one of those things I was going to review, and it was gonna be like, okay, it is what it is. But let's actually talk about it. So you're looking at the white. This is the newest color. They don't even have it listed online yet. I will have a link down in the description below, which will take you right to the site. You can check out all the different color options that you want, and you can purchase it right on Amazon, just like I was going to. I will say this, I have the dark gray and the white. There's another color, which is like a tan color. I touched both of these. I'm out here in Florida. Right now it's 77 degrees outside, and it's December 30th, and the white one is not hot to touch at all. So if you have younger kids and you're gonna have this in a place where the sun is gonna be hitting it, I would recommend the white already if you are gonna go with this. The dark gray is really hot to touch. The sun's been hitting this for a few hours right now. It's not only hot to touch, but it almost looks like the heat is causing the lid to bow up a little bit. The lid on the white one is a little more flat, and the gray one is starting to bow up. It was not like that in the beginning of the day, so the heat's probably doing something with that. The outside material of these things is made of an LDPE, which is a low density polyethylene, which is a pretty durable material. So I do like the fact that this only weighs 90 pounds. It's very easy for you to just pick up and move. It's durable and it doesn't take up a massive footprint. We're gonna go over all the specs in a little more detail during this review, but I wanna answer some of the questions that I had myself when it came to this product. And at first impressions, it's nicer than I thought it was gonna be. I literally thought it was gonna be just like one of those holiday totes that you put your Christmas decorations in and you throw it into your shed. It's bigger, it's a little more sturdy and a little more durable than I expected it to be, which is nice. Let's talk about the name. It's called the Frozin 400 because 400 equates to the amount of quarts it holds, which is very similar to 100 gallons. So 400 quarts, 100 gallons. They say this is rated for people up to 6'3" or 6'5". I saw both online, and people up to 300 pounds. I haven't even opened the lid on this. I don't know what's inside it. I don't know how big it's gonna be. I'm gonna get inside this thing and test it myself so that we can see how big this thing actually is and how sturdy it actually is. At time of recording this, it is $999 for the tub. The cool thing is you can use this with just ice, or you can connect it to any chiller on the market. It does have 2 3/4 inch connections on the back side of this, which you can plug up to use ice, or you can connect any chiller to it. I have a DIY I'm gonna have linked at the end of this video, which I think will work really, really well with this. So if you do decide you wanna get a Frozin 400 and you wanna do the DIY chiller route, I'll have a video which will walk you through the tutorial, and you can get that entire DIY setup for under $1,000. A lot of people have done it, and it's a very easy tutorial for you to walk through, and I don't charge for it. I just wanna help everybody out there get cold. And I know when I first saw this thing, I thought it was just basically one of those rubber totes, but it is fully insulated and roto-molded, which makes it very durable, and the insulation should keep the water colder longer. All right, enough of the stats, all that's subject to change anyway. Let's talk about the actual tub itself. So when looking at the tub itself, it does not take up a large footprint, and I keep saying that because I think that means something. But a lot of people watching these videos, we don't have a ton of room. So having a smaller footprint is sometimes great as long as we can fit in it. There's a lot of smaller cold plunges out there, but unfortunately not everybody can fit inside them very comfortably. And I would say this, I know earlier on I've probably reviewed a few inflatable cold plunges, and there's some good inflatable cold plunges out there with really good chillers and some really cool things about them. But if I was to choose a DIY tub and I was going between a galvanized horse trough with no insulation, a Rubbermaid tub with no insulation, an inflatable cold plunge with a little air insulation, or an insulated LDPE cold plunge, I would always recommend going with something a little more durable. You can throw these around, they're not gonna scratch your concrete floors like the galvanized troughs will, and they do have some insulation that can help keep your water colder longer, and depending on the ambient temperature outside, whether it's freezing or whether it's really, really hot, it'll help keep your water at a stable temperature so you can cold plunge more often. Now, in talking about the measurements, this tub is 48 inches wide if you're looking at it this way. It's 28 inches deep and it's 28 inches tall. So it's a really nice rectangular structure that doesn't take up a ton of room. You can put it into a corner, put it against a wall, or kind of put it out in the middle of nowhere, and it looks good no matter which way you look at it. Before we open it up and talk about the inside, let's look at the backside here. So the backside does have 3 ports. You're gonna have an inlet, you're gonna have an outlet, and you're gonna have a drain port. The drain port, I'm assuming, is at the lowest point of the cold plunge on the inside, so it's very easy to drain all of the water out. And the reason I said this is the inlet and this is the outlet is because you're typically gonna have a filter, whether you do a DIY or purchase a chiller, and you're gonna wanna always pull the water from the lower point because that will pull some of the dirt and debris that might settle at the bottom, and then the water going back into your cold plunge, you wanna have it a little bit higher to create a nice little circulation of water flow inside there, which will help obviously keep your water colder, but keep your water cleaner as well. So that's why when you look at the backside here, you have 3 seemingly random holes. They're not really random when you think about circulation, flow, and drainage. Now, while I'm back here, I want to also point out, you might notice that the lid is touching on the corners, but there's a little bit of a gap here in the middle. Now, I don't see the same gap on the white box, and I want to say it's probably the sun sucking it up. I've noticed with a lot of my black cold plunges and my darker colored cold plunges using the LDPE is there's always seems to be just a little play when the heat is rising, and the heat's definitely rising here today. One thing I will point out too is there seems to be a couple pre-drilled holes. I want to assume that might be a latch or something that's going to either keep my lid down so it's child-proof, or maybe it's a latch or something like that. We'll talk about that as we get to that step. But just a few things that I'm noticing as I'm looking at these tubs for the very first time. It is nicer looking and nicer feeling than I assumed it was going to be. The top of the lids are also rounded a little bit and have these channels, so I'm assuming that's to keep the water from pooling on the top. If you do have it outside and it's raining or it's snowing, that gives the rain or the snow or any of the debris some channels to flow out the side. There's also a couple holes at all 4 corners here. I don't really know what these holes on the corners are for. Maybe if you wanted to tie your lid down or something, I don't really know. And then there are 2 handles on both sides of the tub. So if you have a friend, it's very easy for you to both pick it up and carry it. But once again, it's not a heavy tub. Now we've talked about the outside of the tub. Let's go ahead and open it up. All right, let's open it up for the first time. Okay. All right. You know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and get in it. So getting in it without water, I'm 6'1", 215 pounds right now. And okay, I'm surprised, to be honest. I'm surprised it does come up a little bit higher. It almost fits very similar to an inflatable cold plunge where it's wide enough for me to spread out in here to where I'm not gonna have any hot pockets behind my armpits or underneath my legs. You can cross your legs depending on your height. And obviously you can get as comfortable in here as you want to, which is nice. But a couple things as far as the comfort goes, it's a comfortable tub. I don't have any water in here, so it's less stable than it's gonna be. Obviously when you put water in here, everything's settled, becomes a little bit more stable, but I like the comfort of this. I like the size of this for me. I like that it doesn't take up too much room, and it's actually nicer than I expected. I'll be totally honest. It's nicer than I expected. But now let's talk about the inside here. So we talked about the measurements on the outside. It's also important to talk about the measurements on the inside, and it is nice. The edges are rounded. It's very comfortable inside and out. But let's talk about the size. So inside you got 23 inches wide, 43 inches in length, and from the bottom to the top you have about 24 inches in height, which is nice. It's a nice tall cold plunge, which seems to have a really good amount of space inside. So you also get a little bag inside that has a QR code. Scan here for setup videos. So if you want to watch a video, if you've never set up a cold plunge before, that's probably a good place to start, or send us a text message. I do like that this is a smaller company, and I don't know a ton about the company yet. I'm sure I'll learn a lot more, and maybe I'll make some more videos with them doing some different DIYs and some different tests. That's kind of my goal. If it's worth considering is to make a few more videos, but it's a smaller company. The fact that the founders reached out to me after I placed my order was pretty cool. And they've asked like, hey, we see that it was shipped. How was your shipment? It was great. The shipment was great. The FedEx driver knows me very well, so we had a good laugh that we're reviewing another cold plunge. They checked on it. They wanted to make sure that the setup was going well. I think that that is a cool touch that you don't necessarily get from all of the other cold plunge companies. So now let's talk about what we get with this little package. It looks like we were right. We do get some child safety latches that we are going to be installing ourselves on the outside, maybe to keep the lids down, keep it child proof and all that stuff. So yeah, you do get 4 of those latches, and you also get the screws. We get 3 of these little plugs, which are going to go on the back side if we are going to be using this with ice. So if we want to use this tub with ice, all you do is screw this into the back, and that is going to be good enough to keep every hole from draining. So you get 3 of those. You do get this little ball valve, and this is going to go on the drain at the very bottom hole. The reason you're going to do that is because you can connect a hose right here obviously shut off the drain and then drain it anytime you want to by just turning this little blue knob here. So that's a really cool touch. And then depending on the chiller you go with, you do get these two little adapters, which are going to go into the 3/4 inch female and turn it into a 3/4 inch male. So depending on the connections that you go with, this is a nice touch that they give you these connections so you can turn that into a 3/4 inch threaded male to connect your chiller. And you actually get a third of those. So you get 3 of those little connections, you get some tape, and then you get the screws to connect the outside latches if that's something that you want to add. I don't think you necessarily have to add it depending on your setup, but it is nice that they come with that so you can keep your lids nice and secure if that's what you want. I want to also point out on the lid that the lid is also insulated. So you can see a little bit that there's some size there. The insulation happens where the water is, not so much around the edges, but there is this channel here. There's actually 2 channels that they put into the lid, which I like because it creates a little bit of a seal to keep bugs and debris from making their way into your cold plunge, which you'd be surprised how easy things can make their way into the water, especially frogs and bugs. They love water. So you have a channel on the outside, and then you have a second channel that goes a little bit deeper on the inside, which is nice. This is probably another reason why no matter what, I would recommend using the latches that they're gonna give us. That'll help keep that lid nice and tight when you aren't using your cold plunge. So we're definitely gonna install that in this video, and I'll show you how easy it is. None of this is gonna be hard. Setting up a cold plunge is so much easier than a lot of people might think. And there's a lot of people out there that make some good money by teaching you how to do it and selling you different plans, but you don't necessarily need to go too crazy. We're really just talking about cold water here, keeping your water cold. It's as easy as just either making ice, purchasing ice, filling up a ice maker, putting it in your freezer. There's so many very inexpensive ways to make your water cold, but if you are gonna go with a chiller setup, you don't have to go crazy. So many people think you need these 20 micron filters or these crazy filtration systems. You really don't. And I have a few videos that are complete free resources for you that if you want to create a continuous cold plunge using a chiller and a filter that's just gonna keep your pump and your chiller from breaking, I'm gonna have that linked at the end of this video. I'll have it down in the description below to make it easy for you to access, and it's definitely worth watching and worth considering if you're gonna go the chiller route. But I wanted to go ahead and tell you that making your own cold plunge is not as hard as you might think. So now I'm gonna go ahead and set this up as if I was going to use ice. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna install these latches, which they come pretty much like how you're going to. So we're gonna take out our screws. I'm gonna start with the top 2, just seems a little bit easier. Go ahead and just literally line it up to the holes that are already there. You need your little screwdriver. This isn't hard stuff. All right, got one, set up the second one, goes right into the hole. Boom, just like that. So now this is going to stretch, so I'm gonna actually take the piece that it latches out, so I'm not trying to fight it while I'm screwing this in, and then screw this piece in the bottom. Once again, the hole's already there. Oh no. Beautiful. And now that should just latch right on. Heck yeah. Super easy. So we've got all 4 of the latches installed. Took me, like 10 seconds per latch. Super easy to install. How this works is basically you're going to put the lid on it and then literally just pull it to where it latches on right there. That'll hold your lid on nice and tight. Then you'll just unlatch it and take your lid off. Super duper easy. And at this point in the video, if you have any questions that I haven't really went over, pop them down in the comments below. I will reply and answer every question possible. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, it'd be awesome if you subscribe. My goal for 2025 is to somehow hit 100,000 subscribers, and every subscribe counts. So I appreciate every single one of you who has subscribed to the channel and engages in my content. It means the absolute world. So I'm gonna set the white one up because I already have the latches on it and it just makes sense. So what I'm going to do today is I'm gonna set this up with just water, using theoretically water and ice. I'm gonna have a later video on connecting a DIY chiller because I have a feeling a lot of people are gonna want that. And if that is something you do wanna see, just comment below DIY with chiller, something along those lines. It doesn't have to be too encrypted. You can type whatever you want. But just let me know that making that video wouldn't be a complete waste of time. I want to only put resources out there that are beneficial and helpful. But we're going to set this up as if we were going to be just using ice. So we're going to take this little adapter right here. We're going to screw it into the bottom. You don't have to twist it in too much. It should get tight pretty quick. And you can use the tape if you have it somewhere where you don't want any water ever leaking. I have it out here, so to me, I don't mind if there's a little leak or anything like that. This shouldn't condensate because of the insulation, but I'm not too worried about a small leak. If that does actually happen, that's why you would want to use that tape. Now we're going to take this side of the ball valve, we're going to just screw it into this male fitting down here, and adding this makes it a little easier to screw the other piece in and get it nice and tight. And then we're just going to have that blue on the close because I don't want it draining. Then we're going to take these two little caps and we're just going to plug up the other two holes. Once again, use that tape if you want to, and use a wrench if you really want to tighten it down. We're just going to plug up both of these holes. If it doesn't go in easily, that means you don't have it lined up right. All right, hand tighten both those. All three of those look good. Let's fill it up with water. All right, just toss this lid off to the side here and let's fill it up. I always recommend using a hose filter, RV hose filter, any hose filter. I have links down in the description of my videos, which will take you to my Amazon shop, which has all the different things that I use. And I just like to get them on Amazon because you get it in 24 hours to 2 days. And it's just easy. So we're just gonna fill this bad boy up. It's only 100 gallons, so it should fill it pretty quick. I'm gonna use this lid just to keep the hose from coming out. No, there we go. We're filling up. So while I'm waiting for that to fill up, I'll just talk about a few of the other options out there that you might be considering. And I do have full reviews and videos on these as well. If you would like to see these, I'll probably have them pop up a little bit around the top of the screen here too. Just click that, it'll take you right to the video. So this is the Desert Plunge. This is the exclusive. So they use a Grizzly cooler, and this is exclusive to Desert Plunge, is why I'm starting with this one. And it's extremely insulated. It's extremely durable, very similar to what we just talked about, and it's not too much more money. So if you could just actually buy this entire cooler itself and do all the exact same things that we're talking about with the Frozin 400. Slightly bigger, fit is slightly different. It does take up a little bit more of a footprint, and if you do purchase the entire kit from Desert Plunge, it comes with the chiller and all the components that you'll need to keep your water nice and clear. And you notice my water in here is like aquarium blue. I have well water. It's not good water. It's yellow, and you'll see it in the Frozin 400 when we're done filling it up. But this one comes with ozone as an option. I love using ozone to purify my water. I put ozone in most of the cold plunges that I use. I have a little portable ozone generator that I use in all the cold plunges that don't come with it as an option. But this is what ozone can do. It can purify and clarify your water and make it look blue. I've never put a chemical in this water. That is just what ozone can do, which is super duper impressive. But Desert Plunge does a great job. I think you can buy this entire cooler itself for around $1,500, so a little more money, but it's a whole different ball game. Similar to the Desert Plunge exclusive, this is the Grizzly 450, or the wide if you were on Desert Plunge's website, and I'll have a link down in the description below if you want to check it out, get more information on this. This one is huge. It's a 450, which is 450 quarts. It's got more room inside it. It is wider. I call this the two-person or the couples plunge because me and my wife get in this thing at the same time, and it's got plenty of width inside it. Here, I'll open it up real quick. Has the latches built into it, which is nice. Has the latch that keeps the lid from falling down on your head too, which is nice. And you can see just how big and wide that cold plunge is. This one also is a little bit more money, but depending on your goals and depending on the look you're going for, it might be one worth considering, and I'll have a full video review of this as well. The next bundle of options that a lot of people consider, especially if you're just getting started and you have that like $1,000-ish budget, is the ice barrels. So we have the Ice Barrel 400, we have the Ice Barrel 500, and we have the Ice Barrel 300. All three are totally different. I have videos, the full lineup here. I go over all the differences between all three of these, and the price range is a little bit different. The 400 is the cheapest, typically around $1,100, and then it kind of goes up from there. Usually the 300 is around $1,300, and the 500 is around like $1,500 and change. Once again, links, discount codes, and all that's down below, and video resources to help you decide which one is going to be best for you. But we're almost full with the Frozin 400. And I don't know, it might be one to consider. One tip that I highly recommend is when you have about just under a foot left of space inside the tub, the water shouldn't be that cold, you're using hose water. This is a great opportunity for you to get in and see the water displacement, basically how high the water will rise when you get in, or the person who's gonna be primarily using the cold plunge. The reason I like to do that is because the water will rise, and you don't want, I mean, depending on where you have it, you don't want water to just like waterfall over. It's cool for pictures, but if you have your chiller, and if you do end up having a pump and stuff like that all pretty close to this plunge, it's okay that it gets wet, but sometimes it might trip your breaker. So it's always best to just not have it overflow. So what I would recommend doing at this point is get in, see how high the water comes up so you know when you need to stop your hose. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, so I'm about to get in it and do my full review of the Frozin 400, but before I do that, I want you to think about these things to consider before you purchase any cold plunge. And the first thing is, where are you gonna actually put it? I always 100% of the time will recommend that you figure out where you wanna put your cold plunge before you figure out which cold plunge you want to get, because space is gonna be a factor. If you're gonna have a cold plunge chiller and pump and stuff like that, you're gonna want to have power easily accessible, and more than likely you're gonna want a dedicated circuit because you will keep this plugged in 24/7. You're not gonna put it on a timer. Some people might talk about doing that. I don't recommend putting it on a timer. Let that water constantly cycle through and keep your cold plunge cold and clean. Something extremely important is making sure that you have it on a level surface. I've seen people get cold plunges and then put it in their yard or put it on some rocks, and the rocks aren't very level, and that's gonna make, for one, an unsafe cold plunge because it's not gonna be super stable, but two, it's not gonna be a level cold plunge. So you're gonna have water dipping out of one side when you do get in this thing. So make sure you have it on a level surface. Make sure you plan where you want to have your cold plunge. Make sure you have the space for it. So one of the things I like about the Frozin 400 is it doesn't take up a large footprint. You can put this practically anywhere. It's only 4 feet by 28 inches. So it gives you a lot of flexibility in where you want to actually put this cold plunge. That's enough of me yapping. Let's go ahead and jump in it. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get in here and just see how high the water comes up and get a first impression of this thing. See how high the water already came up and I'm not even fully under? So if I lay back and have my shoulders under the water, which is the goal, I have about 2 inches of rise left. And if I want to fully dunk, let's see how that works. Obviously, I don't know how high it went up, but didn't overflow. So I got a little bit more room in here. Oh man, it's actually nice and refreshing. It's kind of hot today. I know that's probably mean for me to say. All right, let's let it fill up a couple more inches and then we'll talk about it. So now let's talk about it. We've got it set up. Assuming I'm using ice in the setup here, would I consider this cold plunge for myself? At this point, after setting it up, getting the delivery, it came extremely fast. It took 3 to 4 days to come. You can order this thing on Amazon, and I like to think of a few different factors. One, price. It's $1,000. There's a lot of cheaper options. There's a lot more expensive options. So the $999 price range is somewhat okay. So the price of $999 to have a cold plunge that's chiller ready and stuff is pretty average. I won't say it's cheap, but I won't say it's too expensive. To have an insulated option with a lid that latches down, you already have the connections for the chiller. That's really nice, because typically if you were to get a cheaper option that's insulated, which I don't really know what you would get, there's not a ton to compare this to. You could do the Rubbermaid tub, you could do the galvanized trough, but you're gonna have to do some DIYing and you're gonna have to get some spray foam, build a box around it. I would probably just get something like this to get started. It's a decent investment, enough to where you're gonna take care of it, enough to where you're gonna use it, because when you spend $1,000 on something, you're probably going to be using it. So as far as the price go, I would say it's average. But now let's talk about the things that make it different. It's insulated, it does have a lid, it does have a latch, it is chiller ready, it comes in a few different colors, it is sturdy, it is durable, it's made out of a great material, and I would say that as far as the dependability and the durability of the actual tub itself, it is definitely worth considering for that. I would say it's above average. But now let's talk about the actual experience. So I'm 6'1", 215 pounds, just came off of the holiday season, definitely bulking season for me. And I would say that if I was to only have one cold plunge, because I gotta remember that I've been blessed to have the opportunity to get inside pretty much any cold plunge you would want to consider. And if you have any questions about any other cold plunge, pop them down in the comments below, follow me on Instagram, ask me questions. I love giving information. The whole goal behind my channel is to give you the best information you need on all health and wellness products so you can make the best decision for yourself. But if you want my actual opinion based off of your situation, reach out to me. I love helping people make the best decision for themselves. And that leads me back to the question, if I was to only have one cold plunge, would this be something I would consider? I would say that before getting in it, the answer would have been no. I've probably told some people I wouldn't really recommend that, because it did look cheap. It did look cheaply made, and to me, I was thinking, man, for $1,000, I would have to go with an ice barrel or even a Grizzly cooler over that. But now that I have it here, there's a lot of pros to this thing that I did not consider before actually getting into it. One, it's very comfortable. It doesn't take up a large footprint. I've said that a lot because that would be something I would consider. It's durable. I don't have to worry about it scratching my floor or me beating it up. I like that it comes in multiple colors. I like this white with the speckle. It's a really cool look. You can get the darker color if you like that. There's the tan color, which is my least favorite. I really like this color here. It's not hot to touch. It looks nice, and it stands out as something that's a little different from everything else that's on the market. The edges are round. It is comfortable for me to get in here. Right now I'm sitting with my feet going straight. I can cross my legs and sink down a little lower if I wanted to. So I would say I'm 6'1", and if you were 6'3", you could definitely fit in this. If you were wider, you could definitely fit in this. 6'5" and up, I would say it's definitely more roomy than some of the other options out there, but there are some roomier options too. And if you have a question about that, once again, ask me in the comments below. I'd love to help you out. Do I think this would be a good option for me in Florida if I wasn't going to use a chiller? Maybe. I'll have to test that. Maybe I'll test that in a future video. If you want to see me ice test this, let me know in the comments below. If you want to see a full tutorial on a DIY connected to this, let me know in the comments below. I'd like to know what video you'd like to see next, if any, on the Frozin 400. For me, I would 100%, if I was getting this, I would budget in to do a DIY chiller as well. I always recommend the DIY chiller over any of the other chillers because it's cheaper. The components haven't failed me, and if they do, I use the Active Aqua 1/4 horsepower chiller or the 1/2 horsepower chiller depending on what I'm using, and it's just been a great setup. I use a strainer. I don't use a bunch of other filtration systems, and I use a portable ozone machine to purify my water, and I only run it like once or twice a week. If I was going to get a Frozin 400 as my only cold plunge, I would 100% budget in to get a chiller. Now, there's a lot of chillers on the market, and yes, you can connect them easily because it has 3/4 inch connections, male and female, which is great. I would probably say save your money and do a DIY setup. I do have kits down in the description below that a lot of people have followed, and it hasn't failed anyone that I know of, and the reason for that is I found the best options that I could find that are readily available. You can get them pretty quickly, connecting them super simple, and they just haven't failed. I use a 1/4 horsepower Active Aqua chiller. I use a strainer, so you just spray it out anytime it gets dirty, and I use a Danner 1200 pump. It moves the water around and it keeps the water nice and cold. I'm here in Florida. I leave it outside in the rain, in the sun, in the hurricanes, and all that fun stuff, and it's been a great system. But I would definitely budget in getting a chiller and having a chiller set up, just because when I cold plunge, which is every day, I want to make sure my water is clean and I want to make sure my water is cold. I don't want to have to go get ice and all that fun stuff. But if that's where you're at, if you're just getting started, this might be a great option for you. And the reason for that is because when you spend $1,000 on something, it kind of forces you to use it. If you just have a galvanized trough or a Rubbermaid tub on the side of your house, you're going to be like 99% of the people who have those options, and you're probably not going to use it on a regular basis. Invest in your health. It's definitely one of the best investments I've made in my life for not only me, but my wife and my kids. And I think that passing down generational health is way more important than passing down generational wealth. But that's just me. Hey, I appreciate you so much for watching. If you have any questions, pop them down in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that fun YouTube stuff. I'll see you on the next video, my friends. Have a great day, and God bless.